The security guard grabbed Amara by the wrist and dragged her toward the exit while the whole store watched. "Thief!" the manager shouted, pointing at her like she was nothing. Customers pulled out their phones to record her shame. Amara did not steal anything. She had just spent her last $20 to save an old man from being humiliated in front of everyone. And by the next morning, that same old man would walk back through those doors, and the manager who fired her would lose everything he had built. My name is Amara Chidinma, and this is the day my life changed forever, but not before it nearly broke me completely. It started on a slow Tuesday morning at Fresh Mart, a grocery store on the edge of town. Amara had worked there as a cleaner for almost 2 years, mopping floors, wiping shelves, emptying trash bins nobody wanted to touch. The pay was small, but it kept the lights on in the tiny apartment she shared with her sick mother Ngozi, who had been battling a kidney illness for over a year. Every dollar Amara earned went to medicine first, rent second, food last. That morning, an old man walked in wearing a torn brown sweater and worn-out shoes. He picked up a loaf of bread and a bottle of water and walked slowly to the register. When he reached into his pocket, his hands were shaking. He had forgotten his wallet at home. The cashier called the manager, a sharp-tongued man named Mr. Bassey, who did not even try to hide his irritation. "We are not a charity," he said loudly, loud enough for the whole store to hear. "If you cannot pay, step aside." A few customers laughed. One woman filmed it on her phone. The old man's hands trembled as he tried to explain, but nobody was listening. His eyes started to water, not from anger, but from shame. Amara stood by the cereal aisle with her mop, watching this unfold. Something in her chest tightened. She thought of her own mother, sick and proud, and how it would destroy her to be treated this way in public. Without thinking twice, Amara walked up, reached into her pocket, and placed her last $20 on the counter. "I've got it," she said quietly. The old man looked at her like she had just saved his life, because, in a way, she had. Mr. Bassey was furious. He accused her of embarrassing management in front of customers and fired her on the spot. That is the scene you just saw. Security walked her out while customers filmed her humiliation, not knowing she had just given away the money meant for her mother's medicine. Amara walked home that evening with empty pockets and a heavy heart. When she got home, her mother asked why she looked so pale. Amara lied and said work had been tiring. She could not bring herself to say she had lost her job and spent the medicine money on a stranger. That night, she cried quietly in the bathroom so her mother would not hear. What Amara did not know was that the old man was Chief Eze Okonkwo, founder and chairman of Okonkwo Holdings, one of the largest business empires on the continent, now expanding into the United States. He had come to town alone that day, without his driver or his usual security, simply because he wanted a quiet walk and a simple loaf of bread. He never imagined the walk would end in humiliation, and he never imagined a stranger with almost nothing would step in to save him. He went back to his hotel that night shaken, not because he lacked money, but because a cleaner with nothing left had given him everything she had, expecting nothing in return. The next morning, 3 black cars pulled up outside Fresh Mart. Mr. Bassey was behind the counter when Chief Okonkwo walked in, this time in a tailored suit, flanked by men who clearly answered to him. The manager's face went pale as recognition set in. Chief Okonkwo did not raise his voice. He simply asked for the store owner to be called and for every employee on shift to gather. Then he told them exactly what happened the day before and exactly who had stood up for him when nobody else would. Fresh Mart lost its supply contract with Okonkwo Holdings within the month, a contract that had kept the store profitable for years. Mr. Bassey was let go by the store owner before the week was out, not because Chief Okonkwo demanded it, but because the story had already spread, and no owner wanted to be associated with a manager who humiliated an old man and fired the one employee who showed him kindness. By then, Chief Okonkwo had already found Amara. It took 2 days to trace her to a small rented apartment. What he discovered humbled him. Amara was a university graduate in business administration, but jobs were scarce, and she had taken the cleaning position just to survive while caring for her mother. When he knocked on her door and she saw him standing there, she nearly fainted. "You saved an old man's pride when the whole world laughed at him," he said. "Now let me help you build a future." He offered her a place in his company's management training program, a rare opportunity given only to the sharpest young professionals in the country. Amara accepted, terrified and grateful in equal measure. Not everyone welcomed her. Ifeoma, the fiancée of Chief Okonkwo's son Tunde, was one of the company's rising executives, known for her sharp instincts and her charm. When Amara arrived, Ifeoma did not attack her right away. Instead, she smiled, offered to mentor her, invited her to lunch, and introduced her around the office as though she were proud to have her there. Amara, grateful for a friendly face, trusted her completely. It would take almost a year before she understood that Ifeoma's kindness had a price. Amara worked harder than anyone else, arriving early, staying late, learning every part of the business from the ground up. Her breakthrough came 18 months in, when one of the company's largest logistics partners collapsed overnight, threatening to delay a major expansion project worth tens of millions of dollars. Executives panicked. Tunde considered pulling out of the expansion entirely to cut losses. Amara, still junior compared to the others in the room, asked for 48 hours to find a solution before anyone made a final call. She spent 2 sleepless nights restructuring supplier contracts, personally negotiating with 3 smaller logistics companies to split the workload, and building a backup plan that saved the expansion and saved the company an estimated $11 million in losses. When she presented it to the board, even her critics went quiet. Chief Okonkwo watched from the corner of the room, arms folded, and said nothing. But everyone in that room understood what they had just witnessed. If this story is pulling you in, this is the part where it's worth dropping the city you're watching from in the comments. Let's see how far Amara's story travels today. That crisis changed everything. Amara was promoted to project director, overseeing community development initiatives alongside major business operations. Ifeoma's warmth began to cool. Behind closed doors, she started planting doubts in Tunde's ear, questioning whether Amara was becoming too powerful, too fast, too trusted. When flattery no longer worked, she turned to something sharper. A financial report surfaced before the board, appearing to show Amara had misused project funds during the expansion crisis. The numbers were altered, subtle enough to look convincing, damaging enough to end a career. Amara did not panic. She calmly requested the original documents and walked the board through every line, proving the figures had been changed after she submitted them. The trail led back to a login, used only by one other person with access to those files. Ifeoma's fingerprints, both figurative and literal, were all over it. The betrayal broke something in Tunde, but it also opened his eyes to a truth he had been avoiding for months. He ended the engagement, humiliated but relieved to know before it cost the company everything. Ifeoma was quietly removed from her position, and the company moved on, stronger and more honest for it. 2 years after the day she lost her job at Fresh Mart, when Chief Okonkwo finally stepped down, the board did not choose his son, and they did not choose anyone from the old guard. They chose Amara Chidinma, the woman who had saved the company millions during its darkest week, as the new chief executive officer of Okonkwo Holdings. Her mother, healthy again after receiving the best medical care money could offer, sat in the front row the day Amara was announced, tears streaming down her face. A few weeks into her new role, Amara asked her driver to take her somewhere unannounced. She walked into Fresh Mart, now under new management, wearing a simple coat, no entourage, no cameras. The new manager recognized her instantly from the news. He froze behind the counter, unsure whether to apologize or run. Amara walked up slowly, set a loaf of bread and a bottle of water on the counter just like the old man once had, and looked him in the eye. "Do you remember the woman you called a thief?" she asked quietly. The manager could not speak. Amara paid for her items, slid a card across the counter with information about a new scholarship and training program the company was launching for employees, just like she once was, and walked out without another word. If this story moved you, let me know in the comments how far kindness has taken you in your own life. And don't forget to drop the city you're watching from.